Hi, I'm Lori, and this is Rainbow Candy Cane Ice Cream Sundae. Today, I am going to share with you my minimalism story, and I'm going to start by showing you my very unminimalistic piles. Now, it hasn't always looked this way up here. I'll tell you more about that later. I think we can maximize our loved ones' memories by creating a thoughtful collection of what they left behind. But first, we're going to back up a little bit. About a decade ago, when I was up to my eyeballs in momming and cooking and homeschooling and everything that life is with 3 little kids, I had resorted to flipping on the television. And while my darlings were watching Angelina Ballerina or Dora the Explorer or something like that, I was enjoying some well-earned scrolling time on my very first smartphone when something caught not only my attention, but my imagination. Clutter-free with kids, the phrase said. It was the title of a book by Joshua Becker, a well-known minimalist and pioneer in the minimalist movement. I looked around my house, not a total disaster, but definitely not clutter-free. Piles of folded laundry waiting to be carried upstairs and put away, random toys littering the floor, stacks of homeschool books on end tables, shoes strewn by the door, and coats thrown over the sofa. It was the usual mess. It was usually there in one form or another. But the tension I had been feeling towards that mess had been growing recently. It was all starting to feel like just a little bit too much. So when I saw that phrase, clutter-free with kids, it was like seeing a magic unicorn. Was clutter-free with kids a thing, a real thing? Was it possible? Well, if it was, I wanted it, and I was about to find out. The book arrived in the mail a few days later. It was well written and gave practical tips, yes, but it was more than that. It introduced me to a new perspective. It gave me a new lens from which to look at my relationship with things. Becker's message is reiterated in his weekly newsletter that I've been receiving for almost a decade now. Minimalism is the intentional pursuit of what matters most to us and the removal of everything that distracts us from it. I started weeding things out, throwing things out, being more conscious about my resources, my time, and how I was using them and where they were directed. It was exhilarating, both calming and energizing. I could feel my sails filling with the winds of change. I was ready to set sail on the sea of minimalism. But I didn't get too far on my minimalism journey when my sails were quickly deflated. My progress was stunted because not long after I was introduced to minimalism, my life blew up. Or I guess in this metaphor, it started sinking. My oldest child was diagnosed with cataracts and lost her vision over the next months. Had eye surgery, which temporarily restored her vision. Then one serious health issue after another accumulated like big dark clouds over our household. Now that's a long story, and that's not what today is about. But if you're interested in watching it, the playlist is here and linked in the description below. Minimalism had already taught me to choose what's best and forget, or at least try to forget, the rest. It was a timely lesson because little did I know that over the next 9 years, both of my daughters' lives would be cut short by a very rare condition that, despite the best medical testing available, was never diagnosed. The loss has been great, and that short statement is wildly insufficient to describe the depth of the loss. But there it is, the loss was great. But the loss would have been so much greater had I not resolved to make time with my family and availability to them my priority. If I had not already started removing the things that distracted me from them. Our time was short, but it was full. So after 10 years of some sort of minimalism, I still haven't mastered it. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I ever reached a truly clutter-free home. But where minimalism really came through for me was it allowed me to keep refining and editing my daily routines and environments, to become more simple as the situation with my daughters became more and more complicated. Throughout the most intense decade of my life, living in circumstances more demanding than I could ever have imagined, minimalism helped me keep my head above water. On what felt like a sinking ship that was taking on water, minimalism was the bucket that I kept bailing our ship out with. I started listening to more voices in the minimalism space. Dawn from The Minimal Mom has been so instrumental in just giving me permission to let things go. Her practical, no-nonsense tips and techniques were just what I needed to stay afloat. Did I need to hang on to this homeschool curriculum I paid good money for 3 months ago, but now my daughter's eyesight changed and she can't see it? Did I need to keep the cursive handwriting curriculum when she could no longer hold a pencil? No, I did not. Did I need to keep the clothes I wore several years ago but can't fit into anymore because the stress of being a full-time caretaker caused my body to blow up from the nonstop cortisol surges brought on by sleepless nights and the pain of watching my children suffer? No, I did not need to keep those pants or that swimsuit or that dress. I was free to donate it or just let it go. Did I need to look at my friends' happy and carefree social media feeds when my life felt deflated? No, I didn't need that either. And with everything I let go, I was able to hold my daughters a little bit more. I was able to be there for them when they needed me the most. The thing that seems somewhat unfair to me about my minimalism journey is with as much stuff as I let go, I'm still surrounded by stuff. I had to keep making room for new stuff. For oxygen compressors and tubing and wheelchairs and Hoyer lifts, and baskets of supplies related to G-tubes, files of medical records, and monthly shipments of incontinence supplies. The amount of medical paraphernalia was overwhelming, and I still haven't got rid of all of it. We had to have this influx. We had to have these things to take care of our daughters. And so as the new stuff came in, I regularly went through the house with a black trash bag, bailing us out and praying for order inside of the storm of chaos. And so while I had the getting rid of things down, the flow of things coming in was relentless. And I must confess, it wasn't all medical supplies. When you are desperately trying to stay afloat, there's a lot of flailing and splashing. And one of the ways I flailed was falling into the trap of thinking that I could buy things that could fix all the unfixable things. Of course, I didn't really believe that buying any of this stuff would really fix anything, but somehow buying them made me feel a little bit more in control, gave me some sort of fleeting and superficial comfort. So I bought supplements and infrared heating pads and lavender-scented stuffed animals and a metal drum to fill the environment with deep, calming sounds. I bought a lot of things that fall into that category of what on earth was I thinking things. And I think I can let this drum go now. I bought new shoes and new books and lip gloss, but no matter how much I tried to ease their pain and suffering or mine with stuff, I knew all along the greatest thing I could do for them was to just be present. To wrap them in my arms and sing a song, or hold their hand in the middle of the night and say, "It's okay, mommy's here." And so there was some flailing in the flood of incoming things. There was also the rescue boat of minimalism hovering nearby, and it would scoop me up and hand me a box or a trash bag. And it would say, "Remember why you're doing this. This is important. Make space for what matters most." So as you can see, my minimalism story has been a turbulent one. I think I would define my personal minimalism experience as presence over perfection and peace over performance. So I've decided to evaluate the success of my first decade of minimalism, not by how clutter-free my home is, but by how a willingness to contend with the clutter and to protect the spaces where we all gathered together created for my family a home with enough space to hold both joy and sorrow. A home with enough peace to embrace the sweetness of our time together and the knowledge that our time together was very limited. And somehow in creating a home that could hold so much, I found that hearts that could hold so much had been created as well. Okay, so back to this mess. This mess has accumulated over the past 2 years. After the girls left this world and started their new lives in heaven, I began to toss most of their things into this room. In the early months after losing them, I came into this room frequently to hold the things and hug the things and touch the things and see if their scent was still on the things. I've been okay with this space being here, with the heaps of dolls and stuffed animals and old clothing, because I've always had a plan to organize and edit the physical stuff. I have an inkling that by keeping the very best memories and keeping them in creative ways, that I can not only cut down on the clutter, that by cutting down on the clutter that I can possibly honor and remember their memory more thoroughly. So obviously this room is overwhelming on several levels, and I've been waiting to tackle it. I actually think making these YouTube videos and sharing my story about what my family went through has helped to bring me to a place where I'm ready for what's next. And I feel like for me right now, this room is my next step. I don't have a plan or a system for how I'm going to do this. I've never done this before, but I do have some ideas, and I have a starting point because I've already been practicing minimalism for 10 years. I'm not at a complete loss of where to start. So rather than figuring it out and offering to you some sort of system or solution that may not fit your specific needs, I thought it might be helpful to share the process with you. Maybe you have creative solutions or tips you can share with me in the comments below. Please do. I'd actually be really interested to hear them. I think we can maximize our loved ones' memories by creating a thoughtful collection of the things that they left behind. And that's what I'm going to be trying to do over the next few weeks. So please subscribe to this channel so you can follow along in this minimalism series where we're going to ask the questions, how do we honor their memory after they're gone? Do I really need to keep everything forever? And what are the consequences of that to my heart and my memory of them? Big questions, tough questions. So maybe you or someone you know is in the same boat that I am right now, being surrounded by a lifetime of a loved one's possessions and not quite knowing how to handle them. You want to cherish and honor their memory, but you also want to move forward in your own life. But you also want to let go of both the physical and emotional weight of the responsibility of caring for all of these things. I think this is going to be a really interesting series, and I have no idea how it's going to play out. So if you're in the same boat, be sure to subscribe. And if you're not, but you know someone who is, and this video could really help them, please share it with them. I would really appreciate it. Okay, I'll see you soon, and we'll figure out where to start. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to be starting with rainbow candy cane ice cream sundae.